Welcome to Growing Plants for Beginners, Episode 3, Making an A-Frame Plant Stand. Let's show off your beautiful plants. These are the supplies needed. Hello again, welcome back to DIY for Beginners. My name is John, welcome back to my garage. The project that we're working on today can either be really simple or really difficult. If you follow these simple instructions, follow the supplies needed that I've provided at the beginning of the video. I'll also include those in the comments. This will go really easy if you have the proper tools, and there's not many of them that you need, and nothing special. And just let's have fun. Okay, here's pretty much everything you're going to need for this project. Like I said, I mentioned it in the beginning of the video and I put it down in the comments. Let's go through the list together. So first of all, I mentioned that you need 4 2x3x8 pieces of wood. That's these here. And these 4 long pieces here. And they were cut, so the 8-foot pieces were cut into 6-foot pieces. So these are the 4 6-foot pieces that you need. And then I also mentioned that you need 8 9.5-inch pieces. I went with 9.5-inch. You can go a little bit smaller if you want, but there you go. Sorry, 8 of them. So there's 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And those ones are 9.5. You can go a little bit smaller if you like. And then I mentioned that you're going to buy 1 by 10 by 6 piece of wood. That's what those are. And I cut it down into 2-foot, 3-foot, 4-foot, and the big one's 5-foot pieces. Okay, so that's one board. I just cut it. Actually, yeah, that's one board, one 8-foot board, and one 6-foot board, and I cut them down into those 4 separate boards. I also mentioned that you need the Varathane oil-based wood stain. I have a small can here. This should do the project. It's usually better if you buy the big can. It's a little bit more expensive, but so is the small can. So this is the one-off where I bought the small can just for this project. We went with the Jacobean brown, the wood color. It's a fantastic color. You'll see it when we're done, when we get everything on. I mentioned the 2 4-inch zinc-plated heavy-duty hinges. That's these. Okay. And the 1 Kreg pocket hole jig. Now this is optional. So this little kit here is the pocket hole jig. And you'll see later on in the video what it does. It's a fantastic little tool. This is the first time I'm using it. And it's phenomenal. I'm glad I bought it. It's not that expensive, and you're not going to use it all the time. But when you do use it, you'll see later on in the video when we use it. It's fantastic. It hides the screws. So if you don't want to see screws on your project, and again I'll explain this later. This here hides the screws for you. And last but not least, I put 1.5-inch wood screws. I have these with the kit. I have I'm picking up 1.5-inch wood screws tomorrow, but this kit comes with 2.5-inch pocket screws and 1.25-inch pocket screws. You can use those as well, as long as it's not too long for your wood. We'll take a look later on. But before we get to any assembling, the very first step is, for me, I'm going to use the pocket drill, the pocket hole jig set. And what it basically does, here I'll show you over here. Okay, so these are the rungs for the outer frame. So basically these are what the board sits on each level. So you don't see, basically what it does is you're gonna have 2 pieces of wood like this going up one side, and then one of these in the middle, right? Hang on. There you go. So you're gonna have that in the middle, right? And so, okay. So if you don't want to see the screws on this side of the board, right? Because it's outside, and here, You can do that by all means. If you're not going to buy the jig set, then yeah, you can put screws on the outside, but you will see them. So to go a little bit more professional, and I think this is fantastic. So this jig set, what it does is it creates holes in your wood so that when you put them in, screws go in this way and screws go in this way, and then they go part way into the wood, and that way you see nothing on the outside. Fantastic idea, and like I said, this is the first time I'm doing it. This is one that I've tested and I've done first, but let's go through the rest of them and I'll show you how it works. Okay, so here's the pocket hole jig that we were talking about. And like I mentioned before, what this is going to do, what this fancy little thing is going to do, is it's going to create two angular holes this way and two angular holes this way, so that we can put our screws into the side arms without seeing the screws. Like this will be the bottom, the screws will go in this way, and it'll hold the side in place. Okay, so let's see how this works. This comes with this little measuring device. Basically what you do is you take this and you hold it against your piece of wood. And let's see here. I'll try to do this at an angle so you can see. So if you can see the way, so the piece of wood ends up from end to end, ends up in the 1.5 zone. Okay, so that's, let me just do this for a second just for demonstration purposes. All right, so this from here to here ends up in the 1.5 zone. There's also a 1/2 zone and a 3/4 zone. So it's measuring the depth of the piece of wood. Okay, so we're dealing with a 1.5, and what that means is a couple things. So first of all, your drill bit that you're going to use, I don't know if you can see this, it has, let's see if I can make this clear. So there you go. So the top circle is a 1/2, the middle circle is 3/4, and the bottom circle is 1.5. Okay, there's a little screw on the side which gets unlocked by this. So this little tool as well will loosen that screw, and then you can move this stop to whatever size of wood you're using. So like I said, 1.5. I've moved this down to 1.5, and I've tightened that screw again. So this drill bit has been set up properly. Now on this, as you see, I've used it. This here has these two slidey things at the bottom, and what they do, you take a look here, 1/2, 3/4, and 1.5. So 1.5 is the lowest most position, right where it is. So what I had done was these lift up and they slide back, and then they click into place. So there you go. So that's the top one. Oh, sorry, that's the middle one. So that's 3/4 on that one right now. And then if I bring it up and slide it all the way back like that, that's 1/2. So like I said, we're dealing with 1.5. So I'm going to push this all the way back down to where it's supposed to be. It locks in place. Okay. Now how this works is I want the nice side of my wood facing up and the rough side facing down. Now this one here is fairly good. Both sides seem nice. A little knot there. I'm probably going to have this side face up and this side face down. So we're going to take our face down side. This here sits flat against the edge. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I need I need 2 hands for this, so I'm going to have to put down my camera. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that sitting against the edge. I'm going to clamp them down to hold it down, and I'll be right back. Okay, so we're back. As you can see, the pocket hole jig I've put against where it's supposed to go. I've then used these clamps to clamp it down so it doesn't move on me. Okay, and then I'm going to take my drill bit, my jig drill bit, put that in my drill. Now I'm going to hold this up just for demonstration purposes. So this goes down on an angle, these holes. Okay, so the drill bit goes in that hole, if you can see. There we go. Okay, so now right down to the stop. Okay, right down to here, it stops it, and then I'm going to reverse it back out. There we go. I'm going to do the same on the other side. Right down to the stop. There we go. Hopefully I got that on camera good for you. So we're going to get a little bit of a mess here. So now we're going to take this off. And voila. So now you got two pocket holes. And how that works, like I mentioned before, is so it doesn't come right through the side. Okay, it just makes holes into the wood. These are the pocket screws. They go into the hole, and if you can see, I don't know if you can see good enough, but there's the big hole, and then inside there's a tiny hole that the screw goes into, and that fits this screw. So if I go down, that's the farthest it'll go down. So what I can do is when I'm assembling this is, these screws go all the way down. Our piece of wood, I'm going to use this as an example, goes here, and then these screw directly into this piece of wood and don't come out the other side. So on the outside, you will not see any screws going into our frame. They'll be hidden on the bottom with these two screws here going into the frame. Okay? Isn't that fantastic? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do all of them. So I got 2 on each side, and I got 2, 4, 5, 5.5 more to go. Okay, there you have it. So I've done all 8 pieces. There you go. I think this is, I think I mentioned this is my first time using this. I wouldn't recommend buying it if you're just going to do one project, but if you're going to be joining me for a while and doing projects with me as we go along, or more than one project, I would highly recommend this. It's very cost effective. I think it cost me something like 30 Canadian dollars, and it's it just adds that extra little bit of professionalism to your projects. So you're not seeing screws when you don't have to. And you've hidden them away nicely underneath, and I think you'll see that more in detail when we put this together. But there you go. That's that. Okay, so now that we've drilled our holes, we have all our pieces ready to rock and roll. So the next process is to stain. We're going to stain all these pieces. I'm going to do them throughout the night here, most of them anyway. So we got our stain. Hopefully that does everything. If not, I'll let you know. Rubber gloves or gloves so that you don't get stain all over your hands, and a nice lint-free cloth for applying. Wipe across the grain to apply. Wipe with the grain to remove any excess, and then let dry for 8 hours. Okay, I'll check in a little bit when I'm halfway through staining. Okay, so there's the stain on the rungs, and I got a couple of boards done. I got 2 more boards and these 4 sides to do. I think it's looking pretty good. I'll check in with you when we're complete. Hi, good morning. It's a wonderful day here at DIY Land. So we've stained all my boards last night. I've given them 8 hours, at least 8, actually a little bit more than 8 hours to dry. Let's see how they turned out. Okay, there we go. I must say that Jacobean turns out fantastic. Right? Like, is that not like a fantastic stain? I love that. Highly recommend it. Easy to go on. Easy to wipe off the excess. Only 1 coat's needed. Looks fantastic. Okay, so now that we've stained, next step is to take your the 4 long pieces, and what you're going to do is we're going to attach these hinges. Okay, so the key to this is so these boards, the wood that I bought, just so you know, is the cheapest board I could buy. So yes, when you buy this type of board, there's going to be defects in it. There's going to be, let me show you an example here. So if you look at this one here, right, there's a knot and there's holes here. Trying to give you a good example here. Here, like this here. See, knot, there's a hole in it. Sometimes you'll get like big divot cracks in the wood. Like I said, this is the cheapest wood I could buy. So when you do that, you got to kind of plan what you're doing. So what I've done was I've taken the nicest sides and I've put them on the bottom for what we're going to do now. And then the ugliest sides, like here, good example here. So see how these have like lines in them? These are actually grooves where looks like they've glued wood or something. So I don't want that to be seen on the outside. So I'm going to put the outside down, the inside up, and then we're going to use these. We're going to push these together, and we're going to screw these hinges in place, nice and straight, nice and flat. Okay, so that whenever it folds, the nasty bits are going to be on the inside. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so we're going right along here. I'm using 3/4 of an inch wood screws. I'm making sure everything's nice and straight, nice and centered. There we go. All the hinges are in. Moves nicely. And then that way we'll be able to fold this up and put it away when we're not using it. Okay, so now we're going to put our rungs in place. So there's going to be 4 on each side. I'm going to start, you can play with this a little bit, but I've done a few measurements here. I've decided to go 14 inches. So 14 inches from the bottom to the bottom rung. And then we're just going to keep going up 14 inches. Okay, then the screws will go in here. 14 inches. There you go. So 14 inches all the way up. I'll screw these in place, and then I'll do 14 on the other side, and we'll see how that looks. Okay, we're making some progress here. I've got 2 in already. Okay. Double check. 14 inches. 14 inches. Gets easier once you get a couple of them in. There we go. I'm going to keep going, and I'll come back to you when I'm done. Okay, there we go. There we go. Now we have this our A-frame. It's able to fold up, put away when we're using it. Let's see how it looks here. There you go. May need to spread out a little bit, but let's try it out. Even. There we go. Doesn't look too bad if I say so. Okay, there you go. A-frame completed. Now we're all ready to put our plants, our potted plants along here. Maybe I'll tack that on to the end of the video. But there we go, we're all done. Thank you for joining me here at DIY for Beginners. Make sure you hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and make sure to subscribe, and then I'll include you in on my future DIY projects. Thank you very much for joining me.